Big updates when it comes to the Nintendo Switch 2 with Star Fox, because we've got the debut sales for this game and it's looking a lot better than what we saw with Star Fox 64 3D and Star Fox Zero, which is going to be one of the key points for this franchise going forward in the future. Plus, we've got a bunch more Nintendo Switch 2 news and some craziness that is happening with Microsoft. But before we continue, we are giving away a Nintendo Switch 2 at 140,000 subscribers or on September 1st, whichever comes first. Subscribe, like, comment. The winner will be chosen at random, and it's a worldwide giveaway. Thanks, peeps. Famitsu, we've got the published estimated physical game software sales for the week of June 22nd, 2026 through June 28th, 2026. The number one game on the board was Star Fox for the Nintendo Switch 2, highest opening with 41,680 units sold. Once again, this is not including digital sales. Now, on the hardware front, Switch 2 was still the number one system sold with 24,879 units, more than double any of the other platforms. PlayStation 5 coming in at 9,896 units, and the Nintendo Switch 1 coming in at 7,068 units, and the Xbox Series, don't forget that, 361 units, so barely anything. So let's talk about this. Star Fox, bigger debut than Star Fox Zero on the Wii U. I went back and looked up the sales for the Media Create. That's what they did back then before it moved over to Famitsu, and that was from April 18th, 2016 through April 24th, 2016. And Star Fox Zero had an interesting thing then because it split it. There was Star Fox Zero with the bundle, and it came with Star Fox Zero and Star Fox Guard on the Wii U. Then there was just Star Fox Zero by itself. So Star Fox on the Wii U with the double pack, that sold 17,114 units, while Star Fox Zero, just the game by itself, that sold 8,135 units for a total of a bit over 25,000 units. So Star Fox on the Nintendo Switch 2 sold considerably better than Star Fox Zero on the Wii U, even when they had that special and the double guard pack thingy and all of that. Now, dating back to Star Fox 64 3D, it was also above that. And that's what you want to see for the franchise. Positive momentum going forward, it beating out the previous games that didn't sell as well. Tens of thousands of units above what Star Fox on the Wii U did is definitely a good thing. Now, the install base for the Nintendo Switch 2 is higher than what the Wii U was at that time when it released, even though the Wii U was multiple years older than the Nintendo Switch 2. But that's what you get. When you have a higher install base, you're going to usually have better sales with a lot of franchises, and Star Fox on the Switch 2 is a higher quality game, at least what was perceived, than what people felt with Star Fox Zero on the Wii U, so you do have better sales. And even when you move over to the US here on Amazon, Star Fox is still the number one game sold on Amazon new releases. It's the number one game on the Switch 2 new releases, and it's one of the best sellers for overall games and hardware with Amazon too. So it's one of those things to where it's doing well, and it's still one of the top eShop sellers around the world, all different regions. So Star Fox is having a successful launch within the franchise's parameters of what it does. Now, what it does before was pretty bad. Star Fox Zero was a flop, but I do think Star Fox on the Nintendo Switch 2 is going to do somewhere between or above what we saw with Star Fox on the Super Nintendo and Star Fox on the N64. Those games sold between about 3 million units to 4 million units. I think Star Fox on the Switch 2, when it's all said and done, lifetime to date could be in that 3 million to 5 million unit range. I do think the low end would be 2 million, but that would even be considerably better than all of the recent Star Fox games. You have to go back to Star Fox 64 for a Star Fox game to even cross 2 million in sales. And remember, Star Fox on the Super Nintendo, literally the first Star Fox game, that is the second best selling game in the franchise, and that was 30 plus years ago at this point in 1993. So it's pretty much fell off. It's fell off pretty much a cliff at this point. There were some Star Fox games, Assault, and I think Star Fox Adventures, those did okay on the GameCube, but those were also 20 years ago at this point too, so 20 plus years ago. So it's been a long time since Star Fox has been able to put up anything decent when it comes to sales numbers or topping the charts. Star Fox is usually at the bottom, or it's not debuting anything that's high when it comes to that. But it's been a decade since the last Star Fox game, so it's good to see Star Fox back at the top of the charts, and it's selling above the previous Star Fox games. And this is going to be a evergreen game, in my opinion. People are going to pick up Star Fox for a long time. It's not going to have the most explosive sales like a Mario or Zelda or something like that, but that's okay. That's not the point of Star Fox. With the Mario movie and with what's going on here with the good positive word of mouth, and as the Nintendo Switch 2 grows in install base, you're going to see people pick up Star Fox. And it's one of the cheaper games too. It's 50 digital, 60 physical, and of course if you got that pre-order on Amazon, you're able to get it for 50 physical. So I think Star Fox is going to have a bright future ahead of it based off of the sales numbers that we've gotten so far and the positioning ranking charts of the different sales trackers there. But I do think there's another game that's also going to have a bright future, and that is Splatoon Raiders, because Splatoon Raiders recently got a big direct that detailed a lot of stuff, and I think that it convinced a lot more people to pick up the game. But we also now have a Splatoon Raiders demo in stores over on Reddit and on My Nintendo News. There was someone who put up this about the Splatoon Raiders demo that they saw in stores. And they stated that I just walked into GameStop to buy Star Fox and they had a playable Splatoon Raiders demo. It was so cool. You can play up to 3 levels and try different tanks and gadgets. You even get to play a sub-level dungeon level where you fight a salted dude. Was awesome to play. Splatoon Raiders, I felt that it's going to be a very fun game when they show off more of it. That direct did that. I think it's going to be a nice pick up and play game. It's going to be a content dense and packed game. There's a lot of looting and getting different customizations and playing with your friends if you want to, or playing single player. This is the best type of multiplayer game, cooperative in my opinion. It can be played just fine single player, but then you can also play it multiplayer and have a lot of fun with your friends. I like what I saw from Splatoon Raiders. There's a lot of positive press from the game. There's a lot of positive press from people who went hands-on with the game. Multiple people stated that it was very fun. Some people saying it's kind of like a light take, not exactly like Borderlands, but kind of like a light take on Nintendo's version of that, or something along the lines of like a Diablo, things like that, right? Doesn't play like those, but the concept of raiding somewhere, or even like Destiny, right? Something like that. But the concept of raiding and kind of getting different customization, getting different options, getting different loot, being able to power up and then go back out to a place and like raid that place again. So it's a perfect name. It's a spin-off title. That does not mean that Nintendo is getting rid of the big PvP multiplayer Splatoon. They're still doing that. They're probably working on Splatoon 4 as I make this video. They've probably been working on Splatoon 4 for quite some time. I do think Splatoon 4 is going to be a big overhaul where they really take advantage of the system, and I think that Splatoon 4, that's going to come when it comes. But right now, Splatoon Raiders, getting this type of game, single player focus, expanding it, to me is really good. Splatoon Raiders kind of takes all the different stuff from Splatoon when it comes to the single player campaign, some of the multiplayer stuff, some of the cooperative stuff with Salmon Run, and some of the DLC like Side Order, for example, some of the RPG elements, rogue elements of those, and combines it all into one for a nice experience, in my opinion, at least based off of what I've seen. And I'm going to go check out this demo. I'm going to go to GameStop, or I'm going to go to Best Buy. Usually Best Buy does have the demos for a lot of the games. My Best Buy has them. Sometimes Target has them. Sometimes Walmart has them. Just depends. You got to kind of check around which ones usually have it. But if you have a demo unit at some of these stores that usually have the newest ones for Nintendo whenever they do these store demos, then that one probably has the Splatoon Raiders demo in there, or it's going to get it this week or next week or sometime soon. So very good when it comes to that. Maybe Nintendo also does an eShop demo. I know that sometimes they've staggered it, or usually they don't do an eShop demo, but we'll see about that. But awesome stuff. I think that Splatoon Raiders is going to be a lot of fun. And you guys can let me know what you think about the Splatoon Raiders Direct. And if you've gotten a chance to play the demo, let me know what you think about that. But moving on to the next topic that's maybe not so fun, and that is the game business, talking about what's going on at Xbox. Now, they did a big video. Shout outs to Christopher Dring on this one. He's doing his best. I know I've given him some stuff every now and then, but I know that he tries his best when it comes to covering these games and the business behind it and all of that. So Wario64 posted this on Twitter saying, the game business says that Obsidian is in negotiation with Microsoft to avoid closure, along with Compulsion, Ninja Theory, Double Fine, Undead Labs, and others. Quick update: while I was editing this video, Jason Schreier came out on Blue Sky and said, despite a report this morning, I can confirm that Obsidian is not in negotiations to avoid shutting down. Plenty of details are still up in the air surrounding the layoffs. Picture will be clear on Monday, but Xbox is keeping Obsidian, according to people familiar with the situation. So there's that, but the rest of the stuff could happen. Anyway, back to the video. It almost seems like Microsoft is completely getting rid of everything, and all they really want is Forza, Gears, Fable, and like Halo or something like that, and Minecraft. Like, only things that are the biggest stuff. Everything else is pretty much gone. Like, this is crazy to see that. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, at least that they say 5 on here, and then even others. This was a complete disaster. Microsoft buying all these studios was a disaster. It was a net negative. It did absolutely nothing. The Game Pass situation did not take off. These studios were able, or were given, that freedom to do what they want, only to be sold off or advertised in a Microsoft presentation when it comes to Ninja Theory, when they know good and well that they are going to be let go or they're going to be closed in just a bit. This is ridiculous. I can't believe Microsoft would do something like that. It's crazy to me, at least. But at least they're negotiating what's happening here. But I think that this is definitely a story when it comes down to what you need to do with gaming. There is always creativity. There's always different things with gaming. But at the same time, you still need to actually make money. You still need to actually sell games. You still need to factor all of that in. And I don't want to be too hard on this topic because I get it. They were fed a lot of lies and BS from Xbox management, which included Sarah Bond, Phil Spencer, Aaron Greenberg, Matt Booty, and all of the guys that were there that were running the ship of Xbox. But they made it seem as if Game Pass and Xbox was doing just fine. As if all these studios creating all these games that are not getting any sales, that are just going to Game Pass and the Game Pass subs and all that, they made it seem like it was just fine. That was all a lie. If someone new takes over and within 100 days plus now, they are cutting like 40% or 50% of the studios that you have, or there are negotiations to cut all these different studios, that tells me that there was a train wreck. When you have your CEO that makes $100 million a year, by the way, and he says we're making more money off of YouTube and monetization from there than Xbox, and we have to change it. All that stuff that we heard before from Phil Spencer was a lie. All that stuff we heard from Jez Corden over at Windows Central talk about how profitable Game Pass is was a lie. Stuff that people were saying. No shots to these guys. Once again, when you look at, Cole Eastwood and some of these Xbox influencers and Paris and some of these guys, all of it, they were fed lies. They were fed lies to then tell to everyone else, even though we could all see it. I got into some hot water with Xbox people because I was like, hey, this Game Pass thing is not working. There's certain stuff like, it's just not working. There's things that wouldn't really do as well. Maybe they're not selling as well. And people would get mad when I said that. But it was ultimately the truth because you have to sell games. I get it. Creativity. I get it. Game Pass, subs and all that, but that was unproven and it looked like it wasn't expanding. You need an install base in order to sell the games. If you don't have an install base, how can you sell the games? And I think that's the main problem that people were kind of glossing over when looking at the situation with Xbox. So you would see these influencers that are getting fed information from Phil Spencer, who constantly changed his story over and over. It's just the 4 games. It's just this. It's just that. Now it's more. Everything's in Xbox. Like, they just shifted and they moved and they contorted so much to the point to where anybody with an ounce of business sense, or at least scrutiny to look at things, would see that and say, not so much. Or even if you're looking at it from the business of games in general, it seemed crazy to me that you can buy up all these companies. They don't make anything that actually sells. It's all just goes to Game Pass. And then you think that's going to be some type of business that is super successful, or some type of business that's going to be able to continue on perpetually when you're not selling systems. It just never made sense to me, because even in the Xbox One era, it didn't make too much sense if they weren't going to do where they sell the games and they use those games to get money and revenue to sell the system. It just never really worked out the way that they thought it was going to work out, and a lot of it ended up being lies when it comes down to it, because you can't have this many closures. This is a bloodbath, like Nate the Hate said or described it as. This is about as bad as it can get when it comes to Microsoft. And I have no idea how they're going to have any type of confidence to sell the Xbox Helix when they're doing stuff like this. Now, could they buckle down and really just focus in on what sells, like Halo and Gears and Forza, and go exclusive with that and say PC, Xbox Helix, this is where you get the games, this is where it's at? Sure, they can try, but I don't think it's going to work, especially if the system is very expensive. No, I don't think it's going to work at all. I think this is pretty much not good. This is not good for Microsoft. Hopefully these companies can earn their independence. But what do you think about everything we talked about here? Let me know in the comment section below. All right, peeps, that wraps it up for this video here. Thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it. Please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're someone new, click the notification bell, and check out my other Nintendo Switch 2 RPG content and more right here on screen. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you for the next one. Peace.